On the front lines of the Rhine, the Imperial Army engages in a prolonged battle against the Francois Republic. 2nd Lieutenant Tanya de Gurchaf leads the 3rd Platoon of the Imperial Army's 205th Assault Mage Company, with Corporal Victoria Serebryakov as part of her team. When 2 mages under Tanya's command defy her orders, she relocates them to a safer position behind the lines. Subsequently, while en route to reinforce the 403rd Assault Mage Company, the 205th arrives too late to prevent the decimation of the 403rd by Republican Army mages. Tanya instructs the remaining 3 members of her platoon to regroup with other 205th members and confronts the Republican mages alone. Despite her demands for surrender being ignored, Tanya decisively neutralizes the opposing mages. Meanwhile, in the Republican capital, Heresy, military leaders discuss Tanya's formidable combat prowess, labeling her the Devil of the Rhine due to her fearsome reputation. At Imperial Strategic Headquarters in the capital city of Birun, Lieutenant Colonel Reincarnates expresses concern over Tanya's deployment at the Rhine, referring to her as a monstrous presence disguised in a girl's form. Simultaneously, Victoria discovers that the insubordinate mages previously relocated by Tanya have perished due to enemy shelling of their position, a situation Tanya had foreseen and accounted for in her plans. In the bustling streets of Tokyo in 2013, a struggling salaryman faces dismissal from his job by his superior. In a startling turn of events, the supervisor is accidentally pushed onto the train tracks, halting time as he falls. Amidst the chaos, a voice proclaims itself as being X, challenging the supervisor to recognize its divine status. Refusing to accept this being as God, the supervisor is branded unfaithful by Being X, leading to a radical decision. Being X transports the skeptical supervisor to an alternate version of Europe in 1913, intent on subjecting him to trials that will compel faith. Meanwhile, in the impoverished confines of a poorly funded orphanage in Birun, a young girl named Tanya exhibits exceptional magical abilities during routine evaluations. Determined to escape her bleak circumstances, Tanya enlists in the Imperial Army, believing it offers a superior life to the one she faces as an orphan during wartime. Rising through the ranks, she becomes a stringent instructor at a military academy, displaying uncompromising discipline that deeply concerns Reincarnates, an observer. Years later, in 1923, a 9-year-old Tanya serves as an artillery observer during the initial invasion of the Empire by the Entente at the Northern Theater Force Garrison. Tasked with stalling the 5th Aerial Mage Battalion led by Lieutenant Colonel Anson Su, Tanya bravely fulfills her duty despite sustaining severe injuries. Recognized for her valor, she receives the Silver Wings Assault Badge but hopes to avoid frontline deployment. Contrary to her wish, Tanya is celebrated as a hero of the Empire, adorned in ceremonial attire, an unexpected turn from her expectations. Following her recovery, Tanya finds herself relieved to be reassigned to the Tactical Instructor Squad, away from the intense frontline duties. Assigned to test the experimental Elenium Type 95 computation jewel, she faces peril comparable to combat due to its extreme instability. Despite Chief Development Engineer Adelheid von Schugel's relentless efforts, the Type 95 remains dangerously unstable. Displeased with the technology's shortcomings, Tanya requests a transfer, leading to the project's suspension. During a peculiar encounter, Being X manifests through a nutcracker doll, questioning Tanya's lack of faith and insight. Unyielding, Tanya dismisses Being X's claims and destroys the doll. Dismissing it as a dream, she awakens to find a note reading Deus Lo Vault by her bedside, leaving her puzzled. Engaging in one final experiment, as the Type 95 approaches a catastrophic explosion, Being X intervenes, miraculously stabilizing the jewel to showcase his power to Tanya. Now, the Type 95 is exclusive to Tanya, significantly amplifying her abilities but tethered to the condition that she offer prayers to Being X, an aspect she perceives as a curse. The subsequent year sees Tanya redeploy to the front lines, leading up to the events of Episode 1. Recognizing her capabilities, Headquarters determines to enroll her in officer training and Tanya nominates Victoria for the same. Both prepare to return to Birun for their officer training, while Headquarters acknowledges the necessity of a swift response unit within the Imperial Army, realizing the importance of such a division. 6 months after leaving the front lines, Tanya is still training to be an officer at a military academy and is doing well at her studies. She meets General Zetter in the academy's library and he asks for her opinion on the war. She predicts that it will become a world war and outlines a strategy for the Empire, using the firepower and agility of mages to minimize military losses. He is impressed by her battle knowledge and ideas and asks for a report, which she sees as an opportunity for career advancement. Later, Tanya meets Captain Ugger, one of her academy rivals, in a cafe. Ugger reveals to Tanya that he is more concerned about his family than the war and of the future impact the war will have on his daughter, who he fears may one day be forced to fight. Tanya is able to emotionally manipulate him to drop out of academy in exchange for a safer line of work, securing her position as one of the elite students at the academy. Zetter passes Tanya's plan to General Kurt von Ruttersdorf. At a conference held at the Imperial Strategic Headquarters, Zetter tables Tanya's plan for a rapid response mage battalion, which is accepted. At the Western Theater garrison, Reincarnates is furious when he learns that Tanya's plan has been implemented with her in command of the rapid reaction invasion force. Tanya is invited to dinner with the colonel, where she is put in charge of a new 48-strong rapid response mage battalion and will be promoted to the rank of captain. Much to her horror, this will actually be more dangerous than fighting on the front lines. She tries to find ways to delay the implementation of the battalion, especially after a large number of applications for the battalion are received, but a newly promoted Victoria is assigned to assist her, thus preventing Tanya from further delaying the formation of the battalion. Tanya holds a test to decide whether or not the mages who have sent in the applications are worthy of joining the new battalion, but most fail, resulting in a low recruitment rate, leading to her superiors complaining that her standards are set too high. Tanya accepts this compromise to accept more lower standard mages and declares that she will bring all the mages to an acceptable standard in just a month. She is granted free rein on how to go about it. She holds a grueling training regime, with many nearly dying, which she hopes would deter them from further training, but the mages are instead frightened that dropping out will incur even worse punishment and decide to continue. Some are even inspired to meet her lofty standards. Within a month, they have been successfully transformed into skilled soldiers, even by Tanya's standards. She then receives instructions to go with her battalion, named the 203rd Aerial Mage Battalion, or Pixie Battalion, to the Grand Duchy of Dacia, which has mobilized its troops and crossed imperial borders. There, the first battle the 203rd encounters is totally in their favor. The Dacians have no mages and still use techniques for outdated forms of warfare, even lacking the capability for the most basic of anti-aircraft operations. The Dacian attack is repulsed with ease by the elite 203rd, resulting in massive Dacian casualties. Tanya commands the 203rd to follow her to the Dacian capital to test their combat prowess, leaving the remainder of the Dacian invasion force to regular imperial forces. There, they locate the Republic-backed Carbelius arms factory that is undefended from aerial attack. Tanya orders the 203rd to attack it, but in accordance with international law, they can only destroy the factory if they have declared their intentions in advance, allowing for armed retaliation. This would give away the 203RD's surprise advantage. However, Tanya uses a childlike voice to broadcast her intentions to destroy the factory over a radio, which is dismissed by factory workers as a harmless child's prank, allowing the 203rd to completely destroy the factory. The 203rd, satisfied with their overwhelming success, returns to base. Headquarters concludes that Imperial troops should be able to completely occupy Dacia by winter and turns their attention to the fact that the Empire is still fighting on two fronts, against the Entente and the Republic. They decide to focus their efforts on destroying the Entente first, but are worried that there will not be sufficient supplies to do so, with there only being enough to last the Imperial army through winter. Finally, an order is sent for the 203rd to transfer to Norden against the Entente. Later, Tanya and Victoria discuss the possibility of the Entente being allied to the Republic and/or the Allied Kingdom, analogous to the United Kingdom, which is later shown to be true. Tanya realizes that Being X may be orchestrating the upcoming World War in order to force a situation wherein she would have no choice but to worship him. At Norden, Viper Battalion fights against attacking Entente forces but faces heavy losses. The 203rd comes in just in time to rescue Viper Battalion and to launch a counterattack. When offered to be reinforced by additional Imperial Army units, Tanya turns down the offer to create a reputation for the 203rd. She chooses to go after enemy bombers, leaving the rest of the 203rd to carry out the attack. After downing a flight of bombers and landing to look for survivors, Being X once again stops time and animates a dead Entente soldier, and asks Tanya how it feels to fight a war against the whole world. Tanya shoots Being X's avatar down and later eradicates a hidden Allied Kingdom observation post that was gathering data on her. At Paris, Lieutenant Colonel Zevran Bayantot informs General Pierre-Claude Lugo of the failure of the Entente's attacks and of Republican mage casualties, advising him to refrain from sending more Republican mages to assist the Entente. However, Lugo refuses, seemingly under the influence of Being X. In the Entente Ministry of Defense, it is revealed that Anson Sue has been promoted to colonel, but is worried about dying and leaving his wife and daughter, Mary Sue, behind. At Port Arnelis, Colonel Sue bids farewell to his family as he leaves for his post at the relatively quiet Orsfjord, located far from the front. Sometime later, he discovers that he had received a rifle from his daughter as an early Christmas present. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Army Northern Theater Command Strategy Conference, Tanya proposes a strategic retreat, thus shortening supply lines for retreating Imperial forces, allowing the Imperial Army to resupply and making it easier for them to launch an offensive in spring. She asserts that while the retreat would continue the war, an offensive at the moment would exhaust the Imperial Army in Norden, thus limiting its effectiveness. Despite this, it is decided that an offensive would be carried out regardless of the potential losses. Afterwards, during a conversation with Rugen and Rudersdorf, she deduces that the offensive's main purpose is to be a diversion for Imperial forces to launch an amphibious offensive at the rear of the enemy. Rudersdorf decides to send the 203rd to launch a surprise attack at the heavily defended Orsfjord in advance of their North Sea fleet. During the attack, the 203rd is intercepted by a battalion-sized unit of mages led by Colonel Sue. Tanya leads the first company in intercepting enemy mages while the second and third companies destroy the defensive cannons located along the coast, allowing the fleet to land and take control of the railroads, in turn allowing for Imperial forces to take over the port. Su's mages are devastated by the first company. In a final confrontation, Tanya bayonets Su, who falls into the sea. Tanya recovers Su's rifle and claims it as her own. Mary Sue and her mother in Arkansas hear over the radio that the Ors Fjord's defenders were wiped out, causing Mary to cry. The Enta and the Republican Army's 2nd Mage Company support a rebel uprising in Arene City against Imperial occupiers, located in former Republican territory in the Western Theater. This is a problem because the Arene rebels now control the large railroad that passes through Arene, which is straining Imperial supply lines. The 203rd are ordered to intercept and destroy all resistance even if it means civilian casualties. They find the city heavily defended. However, Strategic Command has a plan to rapidly suppress the Arene rebellion, as in accordance to international law, should a city not be evacuated after an evacuation order, all remaining people in a city will be treated as enemy soldiers. After a fierce attack by the 203rd, battered Republican mages seek shelter in a building. Following a refusal to surrender or evacuate, the 203rd observes the murder of a captured Imperial soldier by Arene rebels, providing a casus belli for retaliation. Arene comes under sustained attack from Imperial artillery, causing countless civilian deaths. The Republican mages are driven off completely and control of Arene is returned to the Empire. 2nd Lieutenant Vuren Grants refuses to open fire at the Arene rebels, but Tanya pressures him into doing so. At strategic headquarters, Zetter reveals to Reincarnates that the idea for the destruction of Arene actually came from a thesis written by Tanya that details methods to circumvent international laws on city bombardment. At an Allied Kingdom hospital, the critically wounded Colonel Su slowly recovers from his encounter with Tanya and says that God told him to destroy the devil. In the aftermath of the Arene battle, Tanya reconnects with Major Ugger, who unveils an intricate scheme, dubbed Operation Revolving Door, aimed at luring Republican forces into a strategic trap. This multifaceted plan comprises 4 distinct phases. Proposing this strategy at the Command Strategy Conference, Zetur orchestrates the utilization of the 203rd to strike the rear of the Republican forces. The Empire initiates the first phase, Operation Fog and Sun, deploying an extensive disinformation campaign to deceive the Republican forces into believing in a large-scale Imperial retreat. Concurrently, Reincarnates briefs Tanya on the second phase, Operation Shock and Awe, designed to dismantle Republican command headquarters and disrupt their communication networks. Shuggle introduces a cutting-edge weapon, the V-1 high-speed rocket, slated to transport the 203rd to 3 potential enemy headquarters locations. Meanwhile, at the Rhine, Imperial troops execute a tactical retreat from the front line, seemingly allowing the confident advance of the Republican forces. However, unbeknownst to the advancing Republicans, the Imperial Army strategically places booby traps during their withdrawal, setting the stage for unforeseen obstacles. Su is shown to have survived, and seen to be traveling on an Allied Kingdom ship and plotting his revenge on Tanya. Following the success of Operation Shock and Awe, the 203rd proceeds to retreat via submarine. At the Imperial High Council, various military leaders undergo a grilling by government officials on their strategy of withdrawal, accused of exposing Imperial manufacturing facilities to potential Republican attack. They delay their response, stalling for time while they wait for Tanya's unit to report on their status. Finally, Zetter announces to the Imperial High Council that the enemy command structure has been destroyed and the commencement of the 3rd phase of Operation Lockpick. It starts with the detonation of the traps left behind by the retreating Imperial Army, resulting in widespread Republican losses. Without communications, the Republican forces are in disarray and suffer a sustained counterattack by Imperial heavy armor and mechanized infantry who completely encircle Republican forces. During an investigation on the cause of the communications breakdown, the Enta arrives at the ruins of the Republican Army's headquarters and is horrified. The 203rd takes part in the 4th phase of Operation Revolving Door, a series of mop-up operations against Republican Army remnants, but suddenly come under attack from an Allied Kingdom mage unit with long-range weapons led by Su. The dwindled 203rd refuses to retreat and seizes the offensive, leveraging their altitude advantage. However, they endure severe losses, especially under Su's devastatingly enhanced trench gun. Tanya confronts Su in a face-to-face encounter, recognizing him from their prior engagement. But a startling revelation occurs when she realizes Su is under the influence of being X, leading to a gripping struggle. With Victoria's assistance, Tanya breaks free, relentlessly firing into Su despite his magical defenses. Su, battered by bullets, triggers an explosive, yet Tanya and Victoria withstand the blast, narrowly escaping harm. Just in time, Imperial reinforcements swoop in, driving off the Allied Kingdom mages. Remarkably, most of the 203rd survives despite the casualties. The impactful losses inflicted upon the Republican forces due to the Operation Revolving Door compel their abandonment of Paris-Sea. Imperial forces swiftly occupy the city, marking a significant triumph. The Imperial High Council commends the military's success and deliberates on acquiring the Republic's colonies. As the men of the 203rd celebrate on a Republican beach, Tanya and Victoria contemplate the war's conclusion. Tanya suspects the Republic's intentions to evacuate by sea, preparing for a counteroffensive. Desiring Desiring to strike at the Republican military port of Brest, Tanya seeks permission, only to face refusal. Furthermore, she's restricted from conducting her own reconnaissance, a missed opportunity that leaves her frustrated about potentially concluding the war. As the Empire revels in the temporary truce signaling a potential armistice and the end of the war, Tanya confides in Reincarnates, acknowledging her realization that the cessation of hostilities is but a temporary respite. She understands that the Republic and other nations, unwilling to accept the Empire's ascent to unrivaled power, will inevitably reignite conflict, an inherent aspect of human nature. The Empire's remarkable growth prompts the remaining global powers, the Allied Kingdom, and Unified States, to forge an alliance against the Empire. Amidst this tense atmosphere, General Lugo's proclamation of the Free Republic's emergence from Tunis shatters the Empire's hopes for a lasting peace. Citizens and soldiers alike comprehend that the war persists. As battles reignite, Tanya and her squad receive orders to embark on African soil to confront the Free Republic. In the Unified States, Mary Sue, endowed with being X's blessing, enlists in the U.S. Army, driven by a quest for vengeance against Tanya for her father's demise, setting the stage for a clash between two empowered individuals amidst the escalating global conflict. In Labyrinth City, adventurer Nick is abruptly kicked from his team by his mentor Argus, followed by his girlfriend Claudine dumping him. Disillusioned Nick develops an otaku lifestyle around teen idol Agate. To fund this lifestyle, Nick returns to adventuring but requires a new team. By chance at an inn, he shares a table with sorceress Tiana, ex-priest Zem, and dragon girl Curran, all disillusioned over something. Tiana is a magical prodigy jilted by her jealous fiancé, causing her to become a gambling addict and fail to become an adventurer because her glaring eyes scare away potential teammates. Zem used to be a healer priest until he rejected the advances of a young village girl. Angered, she accused him of rape, leading to his expulsion from the priesthood. He decided to become an adventurer, but freed from his vow of chastity has become a drunken womanizer. Curran merely explains someone she trusted stole something from her. The four drink together over their shared inability to trust people. Nick realizes they will remain disillusioned unless they do something about it and suggests they form a team together. At the guild, Nick learns Curran is famous for being sole survivor of a team that attempted a C-rank labyrinth and all died. Nick decides to name their new team the Survivors. As each team member has trust issues, they set up rules that make it impossible to access team wages unless all four agree. As a new team, they start at the G rank and must defeat two G rank labyrinths to be promoted. Tiana accidentally shoots a spell at Curran, damaging their already fragile trust and causing resentment. They reach the dungeon boss, a giant slime, which Tiana recklessly kills alone, covering everyone in slime and increasing Curran's resentment. As a team-building exercise, Nick asks everyone to reveal their strengths and weaknesses. Tiana apologizes to Curran by revealing she is weak against fire and close combat, at which Curran excels, restoring some trust. At the next dungeon, they face an intelligent, magic-resistant ogre, and Curran is able to trust Tiana to protect her while she kills the ogre. Everyone begins to feel closer, until Nick accidentally causes Curran to drop and smash an important charm from her bag. In the past, Curran served the human she believed would become the hero, Kalios. Curran was swindled by a merchant, but Kalios exposed the crime and forced him to give Curran the necklace, which she treasured. Kalios eventually betrayed her and stole her Dragon King gem, a jewel sacred to the Dragonkin she was tasked to keep safe for her whole life. After failing to track Kalios, she gave up, until she encountered Fifth, an adventurer so strong he had permission to enter labyrinths alone. He was also a notorious food enthusiast, and even though they only spoke once, he inspired Curran, causing her to return to adventuring. In the present, Nick attempts to buy a new necklace to apologize, but Agate, a friend of Nick's from before her idol career, suggests he simply continue to be Curran's friend. Curran, who truly is not upset about the necklace, is just happy her life is better than before. The four party members realize they are becoming popular at the guild and celebrate. The guild abruptly hires them to explore a dungeon rumored to contain the Holy Sword of Bonds. They enter the Labyrinth of Bonds and locate the sword, which possesses intelligence and explains he can only be wielded by people with strong bonds of friendship. Sword is disappointed they plan to sell him. Removing sword activates a golem made of liquid nanomachines that cannot be damaged. Nick manages to activate Sword's blade, yet Sword is confused. Nick's friendship bonds aren't strong enough to activate him fully. Nick falls to a lower floor and Curran rescues him. Curran explains to Nick she kept the necklace to remind her of Kalios, but it kept her stuck in the past, so Nick breaking it helped her move on. Their reconciliation fully activates Sword, fusing them into one body. With their combined power, the golem is destroyed. They give Sword to the guild for the bounty, only to reveal it was a weaker copy from a nearby storeroom, and Sword, now calling himself Bond, has joined their team as an androgynous young man. Bond is disappointed their team bylaws prevent them interfering with each other's hobbies, so they always split up to celebrate on payday. Tiana invites Bond to accompany her since he doesn't have his own hobby yet. The survivors all dream of the lives they had before. In particular, Tiana dreams of her academy instructor whose career she accidentally ruined through her own ambition, and Nick dreams of his ex, Claudine. Their dreams turn out to be unintentionally caused by Kazuna's telepathy. While monster hunting, Kazuna reveals he contains the sword skills of all his past wielders. While at a
a restaurant with Curran and Kazuna, Nick spots Claudine, a known con artist, try to take a young man's money using the same con she once used on Nick. Claudine leaves after Nick exposes her. Claudine later provokes a fight between Nick and her party leader Leon, leader of the Iron Tigers. However, in private Leon reveals to Nick he will soon dump Claudine as she has made him rich, but her cons draw too much attention. He also congratulates Nick on forming the Survivors Party, as he assumes Nick is conning them for their money. Nick beats him up for even suggesting he would betray his first real friends. The guild leader breaks them up as a street brawl is beneath career adventurers. Instead, Leon challenges Nick to the traditional mathematics bare-knuckle battle. It is explained bare-knuckle mathematics involves 10 rounds of brawling. Nick and Leon fight while Curran and Claudine solve maths questions to end each round. Whoever gets the most questions correct earns their fighter a free punch to their opponent. Curran panics as she is bad at maths. Zem learns that the Iron Tigers plan to cheat using their party member Beg. During round 1 and 2, Curran loses to Claudine, so Nick is punched twice. The other survivors cannot locate Beg anywhere. Curran loses the third round, so Nick is punched again. The survivors suspect Beg is waiting for the later rounds. To force him to appear, Tanya suggests they answer all the questions in one go, even though if Curran loses, Nick would be punched 7 times. Guildmaster Vilma agrees, so Claudine uses telepathy crystals to get the correct answers from Beg. Beg is caught by the survivors, who also expose Claudine's telepathy crystal. The Iron Tigers are arrested and Claudine cries, revealing she never wanted to be a criminal and hates who she has become. Curran is happy she learned maths because she can now identify bargains on restaurant menus. Leon is interrogated about a treasure he looted from a labyrinth years ago, the Sword of Ruinous Evolution. Elsewhere, Tanya, Nick, and Kazuna enjoy themselves at a casino which is attacked by Leon looking for Nick, having used the sword to escape and evolve into a monster. Leon, whose sense of smell can now detect lies, threatens Tanya for Nick's location. Tanya is amused by Leon's assumption she and Nick are friends. Leon's nose tells him Tanya has no faith Nick will save her, so he decides to just kill her. However, Nick does save her with Kazuna in his Sword of Bond form, surprising Tanya. Evolution evolves Leon further and takes control of his body, rampaging wildly while Leon begs him to stop. Tanya and Nick prove their real friendship by using Bond's full power to fuse into one body. Leon, despite his hate of humans, refuses to believe he is truly an evil person and allows Tanya/Nick to coat him in the casino's anti-magic playing cards, returning him to normal. Evolution is sealed away and Leon returned to prison, content that he is not evil at heart, especially when Nick reveals he avoided killing anyone even with evolution controlling him. Agate meets Nick and is impressed at how far he has come, but Nick is worried about her as she has recently cancelled all her concerts and public appearances. Agate narrates that her real name is Belle Haggins and she was once a singer at her boyfriend Donnie's failing bar until a music producer discovered her talent and made her an idol. She fell in love with the lifestyle but began to feel unsatisfied with Donnie, especially when he began borrowing her idol wages for gambling, claiming it was to save the bar. Then one day at a casino she saw Tanya easily win all Donnie's money before helping Nick defeat the evolved Leon, causing Agate to idolize Tanya as her paladin. Now in the present, Agate breaks up with Donnie and begins hosting concerts again, crediting her return to her paladin, which Nick realizes was himself and Tanya using Kazuna's power. Agate meets with Nick again, confident they will both keep moving forward. Thanks to the adventuress Olivia Taylor, Kazuna becomes obsessed with Stepping Man, a monster that can leap over rooftops and kidnaps children. Later, Zem, Kazuna, and Nick stop Stepping Man kidnapping a girl named Reina. With proof Stepping Man is actually a human using invisibility magic, the survivors decide to catch him. They confirm Stepping Man has a bounty for his capture, but the mercenary guild insists they capture a smaller bounty first. Hale Hardy, a suspected murderer. The mercenary Ash, angry at adventurers taking mercenary work, enters a wager with Tanya on the success of them capturing Hale. They track Hale to the slums where Zem, as a healer, is disturbed by the living conditions of many people who are sick, drug addicted, and dying. After capturing Hale, the survivors are confronted by Dr. Nalgava, another ex-priest who has been treating Hale for yellow demon sickness. When asked about Stepping Man, Hale reveals he has seen Olivia in the slums talking to children. The survivors cannot ignore Olivia's suspicious behavior and confront her about being Stepping Man. Olivia flees by jumping into the air straight through the building's roof. Just like Stepping Man, Reina's mother, retired adventurer Ada the Sommelier, is grateful the survivors saved her. Reina asks to become Zem's disciple but he refuses, revealing his past experience gave him a phobia of young girls. Ada decides to train the survivors against Stepping Man's skills, light body for flight and heavy body for strength. After encountering Stepping Man again, Nick also doubts it is Olivia. Suspecting Stepping Man is using a magic artifact, Nick asks Leon's advice and learns the most likely artifact is an Illusion King gem. Its illusions are easily broken by confronting the user by name, meaning
being Olivia is definitely not Stepping Man. Olivia later attacks them, believing Nick is Stepping Man. After determining that neither of them are Stepping Man, Olivia admits Stepping Man was her adventurer title before she became a reporter, meaning Stepping Man is using her title and skills to frame her. Examining a dead girl, one of Stepping Man's victims, they find an illusion gem fragment designed to obscure her identity. With the fragment removed, she is revealed as Martha, a blacksmith's daughter who was receiving treatment for yellow demon sickness. Zem believes he knows who Stepping Man is. The survivors confront Stepping Man and break his illusions with his name, Dr. Nalgava. His obsession with curing yellow demon sickness began when his own daughter died of it. The sickness is usually sexually transmitted, so after she died, Nalgava went mad with the rumors of how his daughter became infected. By experimenting on kidnapped children, Nalgava has proven it can also be transmitted from contact with infected blood. Zem confronts him with the pain he caused his victim's parents, but Nalgava is unrepentant. An armored warrior named White Mask suddenly tries to kill Nalgava and the survivors to keep the truth hidden. Curran and Tanya are hurt, so Olivia distracts White Mask, identifying his armor as a similar relic to Kazuna. Nick and Zem combine using Kazuna's bond ability and manage to stab White Mask in the face. Amused they actually hurt him, White Mask spares their lives and disappears. Injured by falling rubble, and also infected yellow demon sickness, Nalgava opts to die when the building collapses. Since White Mask uses a relic and undoubtedly has a powerful master controlling him, Olivia reveals to the survivors that she is also a weapon relic like Kazuna, the anti-demon god Sword of War. After defeating Stepping Man, the survivors all enter a state of depression. Nick remembers meeting Argus, who saved him from the bandit that murdered his parents. Zem takes over Nalgava's clinic in the slums. Tanya returns to gambling but no longer enjoys it. When the survivors meet, there is uncertainty over what to do next. Curran begins brooding over Kalios and wonders if she should forget about him and move on. Olivia uncovers evidence the dark demon god will soon return, with White Mask somehow involved. She is also investigating the black market that sold Nalgava the Illusion King gem. Curran takes an interest in the market, as it may be where Kalios sold her Dragon King gem. The survivors promise if she ever wants to find her gem, they will help. Suddenly inspired, the survivors decide to uncover the conspiracy, expose White Mask, and stop the dark demon god's return. Curran gains an admirer, a cat girl she earlier saved from the same swindling merchant whom Kalios once saved her from. Kazuna and Olivia, both immortal artifacts who will long outlive the survivors, agree the survivors have potential to defeat the dark demon god, but still have a long way to go. While engaged in combat with Gorilla Grodd at Arkham Asylum, Batman becomes entangled within Grodd's Quake Engine time displacement device and finds himself transported to feudal Japan. In this foreign era, he finds himself pursued by samurai loyal to the Joker. During his attempt to evade capture, Batman crosses paths with Catwoman, who discloses that everyone else had arrived 2 years prior due to Batman's placement in the outermost zone affected by the Quake Engine's energy. She imparts that Gotham City's most notorious criminals have ascended to the status of feudal lords, having deceived the Sengoku daimyo, and are now locked in a ruthless struggle to establish dominance over the land. To thwart these villains from rewriting history, Batman and Catwoman are compelled to reach the Quake Engine located within Arkham Castle, which was formerly known as the Asylum. While navigating this unfamiliar realm, Batman uncovers that Alfred Pennyworth has also journeyed into the past and has established a Batcave on the outskirts of Edo. In the face of an ambush by Joker's henchmen, Batman commandeers his Batmobile in a daring move towards Arkham Castle, which astonishingly transforms into a mechanized fortress. Just as Batman is on the brink of confronting the Joker, a moment of heroism compels him to abandon the battle momentarily and rescue a mother and child from the clutches of a descending robot hand. To counter the imminent threat posed by a colossal Bane, Batman adapts his Batcycle into an armored suit, which ultimately leads to a confrontation with the so-called Mother, who is none other than a disguised Harley Quinn. With Joker's underlings converging on Batman, a sudden intervention by ninja hailing from the Bat-Clan of Hida, led by Ian, alters the course of events. During his interaction with the Bat-Clan, Batman learns of their aid extended to Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, and Robin upon their initial arrival. The clan's actions are guided by a prophecy, predicting the arrival of a foreign bat ninja to restore equilibrium to the land. Robin extends an invitation from Grodd to a nearby hot spring. There, Grodd elaborates on his intentions, which involved banishing the villains to a distant realm so he could seize control over Gotham. However, Batman's intervention altered the destination, casting them into feudal Japan instead. A tenuous alliance forms between Batman and Grodd as they forge a pact to return to Gotham. The ensuing clash unites Batman, Grodd, Catwoman, the Bat Family, and the Bat-Clan against the Joker and his minions along the riverbanks. The defeat of Joker and Harley comes at a cost, as Grodd's true intentions surface, revealing his collaboration with Two-Face.
In a shocking twist, Joker and Harley orchestrate their own escape, erasing their presence via a cataclysmic explosion that engulfs their vessel, with Batman ensnared in the wreckage. With a power converter secured from Harley, Catwoman enters into negotiations with Grodd, with the aim of securing her passage back to Gotham. However, this quest necessitates the acquisition of additional power converters from the likes of Penguin, Poison Ivy, and Deathstroke, culminating in the completion of the Quake engine. 2 days after the harrowing confrontation, Batman's resilience prevails as he recuperates from his injuries, inspiring the Bat family to immerse themselves in the art of ninjutsu, poised to counter Grodd's ambitions. Meanwhile, Red Hood's pursuit leads him to the unexpected discovery of Joker and Harley, who, due to the explosion's aftermath, have lost their memories and adopted the lives of farmers. As time progresses, the formidable adversaries amass their robotic fortresses, converging for a climactic clash at the Field of Hell. Guided by Batman's leadership, the combined forces of the Bat family and the Bat Clan face off against the villains in a monumental showdown, while prevailing over the other malevolent forces. Grodd imposes his mind control over the defeated adversaries, alluding to his intent of dominating the nation. Yet, Joker and Harley emerge as unanticipated disruptors, descending from above to reclaim their stronghold and ultimately overthrow Grodd. The united efforts of the Bat family safeguard Catwoman and Grodd, paving the way for a showdown that culminates in the transformation of the castles into the colossal Lord Joker robot. In a weakened state, Grodd relinquishes control of his simian army to Batman. Through Robin's ingenuity, these primates unite as a formidable samurai ape poised to challenge the supremacy of the Joker's mechanical monstrosity. A convergence with a swarm of bats results in the emergence of the Bat God, a powerful entity that thwarts Lord Joker's ambitions. This victory paves the way for the Bat family's triumphant entry into the heart of the castle, initiating a final confrontation with the villains. It is during this climactic exchange that Joker divulges a secret to Batman: the blossoming of special flowers planted during their time as farmers has restored their memories. As the castle's destruction looms, Batman engages in a fateful sword duel with the Joker. Leveraging his honed ninjutsu skills, Batman prevails over his arch-nemesis. With the Joker and his cohorts vanquished, the Bat Clan embarks on the task of restoring feudal Japan to its former state, while the Bat family escorts the defeated villains back to their present-day reality. In a mid-credits scene, Catwoman finds herself engaged in a lucrative trade involving weapons and artifacts extracted from the castle's robots. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne, adopting the role of the Dark Knight, arrives at a mayoral celebration astride a horse-drawn Batmobile, symbolizing his continued dedication to justice. Thanks for watching. Post in the comments what anime to do the next retelling on.